This week on the show, assistant coach Jay Hernandez drops by. The guys talk about the recent play of Dwayne Bacon, the homestand coming up, and the playoff push. This is the Hornets.com Coaches Show.
Welcome to the Hornets.com Coaches Show. I'm Matt Roczynski, being joined by Chris Kroger, back from the road, 2-game road trip. Some good, some bad. Great win in Washington, tough loss in Miami. What did you see on the road trip?
Well, I think it was really just two ends of the spectrum. You think about how Washington plays. They've made this trade for Jabari Parker and Bobby Portis. They've inserted Portis into the starting lineup. They play small and they play fast. One of the fastest paces in the NBA. Statistically, since they made that trade, you're talking about one of the top 5 offenses in the NBA. They're top 5 in assists. They get up a lot of threes. And the Hornets basically got in a track meet and they outlasted Washington. They beat them at their own game. And then on Sunday, wow, what a different game entirely for the second straight matchup with Miami.
Slow it down.
Very slow. And look, the Hornets had a hand in that because they said, we're going to fight fire with fire, so to speak. We're going to slow the game down. We're going to throw some zone at you. We're going to muck it up. We're going to trap at times. And you had a defensive struggle, a bit of an offensive struggle as well. And Miami outlasted the Hornets for the second straight time. And now you're talking about over the last 2 meetings with the Heat, where in the last 10 days, the Hornets have averaged just under 80 points. And that's unheard of for a Hornets offense that was borderline top 10 for about 2/3 of the year so far. So totally 2 different games. And I think the fact that they were played so quickly, back-to-back essentially, 2 games in 3 days on the road like that, I think that really messes with you too, because you felt like you had an offensive rhythm on Friday. Defensively, you gave yourself a chance on Sunday, but you just couldn't get your offense back into that same rhythm.
Yeah, and everybody came out in Washington and contributed. You could see everybody was trying to get in the game, was putting up their points, being active. In Miami, it seems like it almost was the opposite, where some guys were kind of held in check because of that tough Miami defense. What do you have to do when a team's playing good defense like that to kind of break out of that slump?
Well, I think Coach was talking about it before the game because he knew this could happen. He was very aware of this. You just have to make contested shots. And sometimes the open looks you got to make those too. But this is the realistic part of this. There's a lot of pressure on this. So you think back to the way the Miami game played out, you're getting a lot of looks late in the shot clock where the shot clock is running low. Jeremy Lamb hit a 30-footer beyond the top of the key off the backboard. I didn't hear him call bank. It still counted. And that's the type of shot at times you're just going to get. It's going to have to be a prayer. You're going to get some open looks maybe in the corner occasionally, but the clock is low. And then even the open looks you get, those are ones that you don't get these very often. There's added pressure. That's a hard shot. You might think I'm open, but if you've gotten above the break 3, and the Hornets had a few of those, Kemba had a few, where you're open, the basket looks entirely smaller than it normally does because you're thinking, man, I better seize this opportunity. I don't get a lot of those. So it's just the natural pressure that's ratcheted up by the type of defense Miami plays, their length, their athleticism. And when you get looks, you got to shoot over the top of that length too. So it just makes it really tough.
You said seize the opportunity. One guy we've noticed over the course of the last couple weeks is seizing that opportunity is Dwayne Bacon. Here's a guy who's going back and forth to Greensboro, now into the rotation. What have you seen from Dwayne so far?
Well, he's just stayed the course. He's told me that over the last couple of weeks. He's had 2 great games against Washington. He should play the Wizards all the time. One here, one in D.C. on Friday. And look, 5 games back into the rotation. He's had double digits or more in 3 of those games. He's averaging right around 9 points per game. But think about the way he's playing. He's contributing on both ends. On offense, I think he's putting the ball on the deck and driving to the basket. And then when he gets those open looks from 3, he's shooting. And he's making the extra pass. You'll see him make basketball plays, astute basketball plays, where he'll reverse the ball or skip the pass ahead. And those are plays that the Hornets need more of, and JB knows that. And so Bake has been out there making those plays, and I just don't think the average fan understands truly the grind this guy has been on for the last couple of months. And he's been on assignment. He'll go on assignment for 2 or 3 games, come back. He'll go on assignment for 1 game, come back. There have been days where he's up in Greensboro playing an early game, and he'll come back and at least be in the building here for a game later that night. And so he's just been working so hard. It's been intentional. It isn't with all the fanfare that maybe you get at the highest level of the NBA. But he said, I never complained. I never said a word. I never felt frustrated or mad. I just knew that this was part of the journey, and here I am on the other side. But he's really worked hard, and especially there have been games where we've been on the road, he played on the road with the Swarm, and he'd come and he'd meet us on a commercial flight. You know, we're spoiled with our travel in the NBA. You go to the G League, it's a different animal. You're sleeping in hotels that are not as nice at that level. You're taking a lot of long bus rides and a lot of early flights, longer flights. And so Dwayne has been on that grind, and I think now he's starting to see the other side of it.
And when we talk about, it's kind of funny that when you talk about the G League and how it is more difficult and you're going through more of a grind, but what has that done for his confidence? Because we're seeing a different Dwayne Bacon. Not only the moves he's making, he's just playing as a more confident player.
Yeah, you're getting live game reps, so I think every coach will tell you you can learn in practice, but if you're going to go long stretches without playing, there's only so much practice can give you. You're not getting live game reps, you're not getting yourself in the conditioning you need, and even the speed of the game is so different too compared to anything you do with a 5-on-5 practice, which happens at times in the NBA. So I think with Dwayne, those games have allowed him to hone his craft. He's playing guys that are close to his talent level. He's probably a cut above a lot of those guys. He's probably in the upper 90th percentile of G League players when he's up there, if not higher than that. And so when you see him work on these moves around the bucket, he's got this confidence now. He's able to really hone in on those moves, and now he gets to the highest level, and he's breaking them out on guys like Jabari Parker and Bradley Beal and Dwayne Wade. And so now I think his confidence is finally matched what his talent level is.
And make no mistake about it, Hornets fans, when these guys are going back and forth, this year it's been a different animal with how the G League is being used here with Charlotte and Greensboro. This is a team that's being paid attention to when they're over there in Greensboro, when these guys are going.
No doubt. Yeah, it's intentional. And you think of the best G League teams historically over the last few years. You're talking about the Warriors in Santa Cruz, Golden State's affiliate, Raptors 905 for Toronto, the Austin Spurs for San Antonio, where JB's familiar with as well. Miami has used their G League team as good as anybody over the years with the Sioux Falls Skyforce. And you see guys like Rodney Magruder and Derrick Jones Jr., which have come from their G League team. It's not by accident. You have to be intentional. You have to put guys on assignment. You have to try to mine talent, even at that level solely, if they're not making it to the NBA level. And you have to be trying to work on the same things you're working on with your parent club, with that club as well. And so with Nate Mitchell on the assistant coaching staff, he came from Raptors 905. He is very locked in to what's going on with the G League. And even if somebody's not on assignment, he's paying attention to Joe Cheeley and JP Makura, the two-way players. He's paying attention to some of these other G League players, whether it's Isaiah Wilkins or Chinanu Onuaku up there as well.
Well done.
I just want to work in his name. He's had a great year as well. He's been a great force down low. So he watches these games, he critiques these games, and then when the players come back, hey, I wanted you to work on X, Y, and Z. Here's what I saw. You excelled at this. Maybe you could get better at that. And I think that's the payoff as a player, to know not only am I going up there, but when I come back, wow, somebody was paying attention to me. And maybe that they're actually starting to see the results of all the work I'm putting in.
Well, as always, those have been our takes to start the Coaches Show. We're going to have assistant coach Jay Hernandez on right after this break to get his takes. We'll be right back on the Hornets.com Coaches Show.
Either we win it or there's overtime. Lamb's going to have to fire. Got it! Kemba bounces into a three. Enough legs to get it through. Bud City. This started 30 years ago. You're the best fans then, the best fans now. Let's have a great year.
Welcome back to the Hornets.com Coaches Show. We're now being joined by assistant coach Jay Hernandez. Jay, we love having you on anytime we get a chance. It's great to have you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You guys are coming off decent road trip, if you want to look at that. 1 win, 1 loss. Got a big win in Washington, tough loss in Miami. Just kind of talk to us about the road trip and where the team's at right now.
Yeah, we were really focused on getting that first one, right? Just making sure we went to Washington. Got that tie break. It's always important for us to beat the teams in the Eastern Conference for that reason. And that was just a good showing. Obviously, playing a team and beating them 3 times in a row is very difficult. And so, being able to go there when they had won 4 straight and had been looking really, really good at home, we thought that was a great win for us. Great team win. Everybody came out and did their part. And taking that into Miami, same thing. We're looking to go in there and get another win. Obviously they've been playing pretty well as of lately as well. That's one of the hotter teams, I think, in the Eastern Conference. Just seeing their record, seeing what guys have been doing. Always a tough place to win, and you can see by 39-39 halftime scoring. We bring out the best and the worst in terms of defense, offense, and each other. I think we know how to guard each other pretty well, and they happen to make some shots late in that fourth quarter, which really hurt us.
And I think it's interesting, too, you talk about stylistically the way these two teams play. Washington on Friday, one of the fastest paces in the NBA, always kicking the ball up the court. They want shots early in the shot clock. And then you look at Miami, total opposite end of the spectrum. They play one of the slowest paces in the NBA. It's methodical. They slow it down even further when we match up against them. So I think you found a rhythm offensively Friday, but when you play a team that slow, maybe on Sunday, and the way they muck the game up, it's really hard to kind of get out of that funk.
Yeah, they do a great job. They have good bigs that know their role and how to be back and pick and roll, how to press up on pick and roll and be there to disrupt us. They've got some really good active wings, so they've got a great makeup. That's why they've been in the playoffs for so many years and made these late runs, and obviously fueled by Dwayne Wade. He just doesn't seem to age. He just, every time that fourth quarter comes, he's there making big shots, making big plays for the team, and got to give them a lot of credit.
There's no question picking up road wins in the NBA is difficult to do. This was a team that struggled to do that early in the season. You guys picked up the big win in Brooklyn, coming back, picking up a win in Washington. Just being able to get these road wins, does that continue to build the confidence as you make this playoff push, knowing that you still have 7 road games left?
Without a doubt, especially with playing more young guys. So I think it helps us to know that we can go on the road, especially with other teams that are right there in the same situation that we're in, trying to make a playoff push. And Washington is only 1 game behind right now in terms of the win column. Brooklyn, obviously, they've got a tough schedule ahead, and they've done a great job all year. So we're playing teams where seeding matters, making the playoff matters, and be able to get those wins and then be home now and going before we go on the road. I think it's going to be a big step for us to continue to grow as a team.
And this is life in the NBA, right? Because you can look at it and you think, man, it feels like it's going to be a tough road to hoe, but at the same time, you look at 2 games back, and there's so many opportunities. As you said, you look at other teams' schedules, and things are not going to be easy for Brooklyn and Miami. Their schedules really pick up over the next couple of weeks. Sure. So you can't feel sorry for yourself. You got to have a short memory and just move on to the next one.
Without a doubt, that's the NBA. You come out and you've got to be ready each and every night. You don't know how things are going to unfold. Some of these teams, especially going into later stretches, you don't know who they're going to sit, who's going to be out there on the basketball court. So you just got to make sure that you focus on yourself. Try to get as many wins as you can. You can't worry about other teams losing and what's happening there. You just have to focus on yourself. And I think Coach Borrego's done a great job with our players to realize that's what we're about. We've got to get out there and keep getting better and try to get these wins whenever we can.
Yeah, Coach Borrego, when we had him on last week, said even in this playoff race, sometimes it's about breaks. Yeah. Certain teams are going to get better breaks than other people are going to get. Sometimes players are going to play against teams, sometimes they're not. We have a situation like that already now coming up for this week. 4 out of our next games are at home here in Spectrum Center. Joel Embiid has already come out and said he's not going to play on Tuesday against the Philadelphia 76ers. That's always, you're not going to say that that's not a positive. Yeah. What are you guys looking at to try and start getting some wins here at home and really establish this as one of probably the most important homestand of the season?
Yeah, again, it's you can't get lost in that where you would say, oh, Embiid's not playing, so now it's going to be an easier road. Obviously, we think it's going to be a little bit easier, but I think it's nothing's guaranteed. You got other guys on that roster that are all-stars and guys that are very good that have, that are ready to step up when he's not playing. And you see that with a lot of the better teams in the Eastern and Western Conference when they sit guys. They're still winning games and finding ways to get it done. So we've got to go out there and be ready for a war. And I think just coming out and starting these first quarters, like we've been emphasizing at home, is going to be a big step for us. Just to know that we're not playing from behind and trying to play catch-up all game. That we're establishing ourselves and our identity for the whole game in that first quarter. I think we do that here at home the next few games. I think you'll see some good results.
Let's talk about one of the guys that's become, in my opinion, one of the best two-way players on this team over the last few weeks, Dwayne Bacon. And if you would have said 3 weeks ago Dwayne Bacon would be playing a pivotal role on this team, I wouldn't have said you were crazy, but it didn't seem like the most likely scenario. But I think it's his work in Greensboro that's really instilled this confidence in him, and the talent's been there. This is a kid that was a McDonald's All-American, a high-level recruit when he went to Florida State, and he's had the talent and the skills, and now we're starting to see the basketball IQ and the confidence sort of fit in. So can you speak to the grind he's been on? Because I think the average fan doesn't understand what the last couple of months have been like for Dwayne.
Yeah, I think you said it right. It's the confidence. I think everything that we saw in him early, maybe he didn't see in himself right away because we thought he can get to the basket at will against anybody in the world, and we just wanted to see that more, and I think you see the way he's defending and the things that he's doing. I think he enjoyed his experience in Greensboro because he got a chance to be in our system, playing in live games and not just practicing or just getting shots up. And I think there's a real valuable thing that comes along with that. He's done a great job working with Nate Mitchell, whenever he's back here. So he'll go from playing in a game there to coming back and practicing with us and, going right back. And so he's one of those guys that, he'll take a 4 or 5 hour trip, play, and then be ready to fly somewhere else to meet us. And so he's been engaged in the process the whole time. And I think whenever you have that level of engagement, it makes it easy for guys to transition themselves into a game at the NBA level. And I think hopefully by seeing that success from him, it allows other guys, the same opportunities to go there and feel like, all right, I'm not completely lost, or they are thinking about me and they are utilizing the G League the way it's supposed to be. So I think that speaks volumes to the whole organization.
As Chris said a couple weeks ago, most fans didn't expect Dwayne Bacon to be in the rotation. A month ago, fans might not have expected Frank Kaminsky was going to be in the rotation. Yeah. When Coach JB comes out and says it, his message is to be ready to all these players. As assistant coaches, how important is it for you guys to keep these guys ready after practice, getting that work in, because we see it all the time?
Yeah, we have a lot of times on days where we have back-to-backs, we'll bring in 6 or 7 guys and have them compete and work on some defensive principles, get their shots up. And, we take it very seriously. And for me to be in this situation, to see the level, again, of engagement, I'll use that word again, level of engagement of these guys when they're not playing, to be locked in for 30, 45 minutes on days where we've been traveling, to come back and do that, just, again, talks to who they are as people, who they are as teammates, and we all know that when we call their number that we expect them to produce because they have been putting the work in. And Frank is one of those guys. We know what he can bring in terms of stretching the floor. Defensively, he's gotten a lot better. I think you can see the work. And again, he's been working with Dutch Gately, and you can see on an everyday basis we have our vitamins and the things that we do with our work individually, and then we bring everybody together. You can see those things start to stack up. And so when guys are watching and seeing what other guys are doing and how our system is unfolding, because again, it's still a new team, new coaching staff. I think it gives guys an ability to watch the game from a different lens, and then when they get the opportunity, they know, okay, I can insert myself here and be productive in this way.
So JB has come in here, rookie head coach, and you were learning about him all the time. One thing I've noticed being around him and everything he does, he always wants, I think, inclusion from everybody who's around. He wants opinions. I think he takes it under his own thought process, and then he comes out with what his final say is, right? Yeah. So for you as an assistant coach, he puts a lot of work on you guys. He trusts you guys to have an active hand in game planning and scouting and being active and trying to grab wins each and every night. It's not just, here's some filler work. You guys have a very active say in what's going on every day.
Without a doubt, I think that's what's been really, really fun to be a part of, because again, you have a lot of different voices and a lot of different people talking in meetings, and I'm learning every day. We have such a talented staff that I'm learning, just the different opinions and viewpoints on just defense and offense that you don't get if it's just one voice all the time. And I think that's what he wants. I think he's looking. I'm the head coach, but still there's room for improvement everywhere. And when you see that from your coach, it allows you to let your guard down and say, I don't really know everything either. And sometimes what I'm offering is not the answer, but it's an option. And I think we have some great options to go with, and maybe one thing is not as good as the other. It's just what coach decides to go with, and I think we have a very unified front when we go out there. And I think the team sees that. I think that's I think that's what the players like a lot as well. They realize that each guy that's talking to them, is in there and understands what's going on. And for me, I asked him early on if I could have more, whatever he can do for me, because obviously we all want to grow, want to become head coaches, and you could see how many roles he has to fill and how many things he has to do on a daily basis. So, the best way to do that is just to continue to do more, and I think he's giving that to each coach. And you see all of us have different pockets of things that we do, and then we come together and culminates with the games.
I think one thing that should hold true for all Hornets fans right now is that unified front. We've only got 13 games left in a playoff hunt here. Going after this right now, the Hornets want to get to the playoffs. We know coach is going to get these guys ready. We know our fans are ready. We're looking forward to seeing how the season shakes out from this point. Thanks a lot for joining.
Follow this guy on Twitter, by the way.
Yes.
At Rep Your Work. Follow
there you go. At Rep
Your
Your Work. Make sure you grab that.
Words of encouragement.
Honestly, one of the best assistant coaches on social media in the NBA. No question about that. Aaron Pitzenberger will vouch for us if anybody's got any questions. But thank you very much for being here with us, Coach.
Thank you, guys.
We'll be right back on the Hornets.com Coaches Show. Welcome back to the Hornets.com Coaches Show. We were just joined by Jay Hernandez. Always good to hear from Jay.
That guy's got juice, by the way, right? Like, he's just positive energy all the time.
He's so fun to be around. And I tell you what, I really want him. Nick Bolick, our intern, was telling him he needed to have him give him dribbling drills when he was leaving.
Yes.
I'd love to sit down and
if
do
we try to put a
stuff with
blooper
that
film
guy.
together, yes.
Yeah, that's true. It would be a good
all of
blooper
us, we
film.
can take a turn.
But man, he's still got handles though. Jay does.
Look, people forget, Jay, it's tournament time, right? March Madness is here. Villanova, people think of Jay Wright. Before he was at Villanova, he was at Hofstra, and we all remember Speedy Claxton, too. Remember Speedy Claxton?
Yep.
Jay and Speedy were in the backcourt together at Hofstra playing for some Jay Wright characters. So
there you go.
He's got some pretty good bona fides. His resume is pretty strong.
Well, let's just talk to our fans for a second. They got a chance to meet Jay Hernandez. Now we want to tell you guys, don't panic yet. This season is not over. We are not out of the playoffs. If you look at the standings, we are 2 games back. There are 13 games to go. It can still be done. What is it going to take to do it?
Well, I think you got to find a consistent way to play most nights. I'm not going to say every single night, but I think most nights the Hornets got to hone in on how can we put the best winning formula together, whatever that looks like. I think in Houston, obviously you don't want to get down by 27, but the Hornets found a way to claw back in that game and really looked great moving the basketball with a lot of pace and pushing the tempo. Maybe that's it. I don't know. I think slowing the game down at times has been helpful defensively for the Hornets, but when you get up against another team who's doing the same thing, obviously the offense gets stuck in the mud. So the Hornets have to find an identity and a group of guys that can consistently play consistent over the course of the next few weeks. And if you figure that out, you're going to be fine. Miami was much in the same boat until about 2 weeks ago when out of the All-Star break, they've started to find that. And so you've got to find a way to do that. Brooklyn, I think, found their stride earlier in the year. Their schedule is brutal, even tougher than the Hornets, even tougher than Miami's to close the year. Miami's schedule gets hard starting right now as well. So I think when you look at maybe Detroit, I think Detroit's pretty much a lock in as much as you could say that in the playoff race. I think Brooklyn and Miami, one of those two will get in, but who's the other team that falls out? Is it Miami? Does Miami jump to 7th? Does Brooklyn fall from 7th all the way out of the playoff picture? Those are things that I know we think are entirely possible. And then if you're the Hornets, I think the number's 38 to me, Matt. Can you find a way to get to 38 wins? Hornets are at 31 now, 7 wins over the next 13 games, 7-6.
Yep.
That sounds entirely realistic
Yes,
for
it
the
does.
Hornets to close the year.
And it can be done, especially when you look at the schedule right now. Key part of the schedule is right now.
Yes.
We're at home. We've got 4 out of the next 5 games here at home. How important is this stretch?
Very, and you know what, maybe the thing that sparks it all, wouldn't it be fitting? The Hornets played 3 times in the first 15 games with the Philadelphia 76ers. 3 games, 3 losses, but all decided by 6 points, 1 in overtime when Kemba joined James Harden as the only player in the NBA to score 60 in a game this year. Okay, so we've seen how close these matchups are. The Hornets, much like with a team like Milwaukee, where the Hornets went 1-3 with Milwaukee, they match up well with the Bucks. I think the Hornets match up well with Philadelphia as well. Now they've added Tobias Harris into the mix, which is even more lethal since the last time we saw him. But I think the Hornets, if you could spark a win against Philadelphia, Hornets beat Boston in this building back in November, if you remember. And then on top of that, Minnesota. I think it's a team that's playing hard still, but they're out of the playoff picture in the Western Conference. San Antonio, well, the Hornets beat San Antonio in San Antonio. Hardly anybody's done that this year. They've been a great home team. So I think if you could find a way to say, guys, 4 of the next 5 at home, can we win 3 of these? I don't know what the combination is. Could you win 3 of these? And then you think about the West Coast road trip, which is going to be upcoming as well.
Yeah, and you've got some games on that West Coast trip that could be very winnable.
Well, look, who thought this a month ago? The Lakers, the wheels are coming off in LA right now. And from game to game, you've got no idea who's healthy. If LeBron's going to be resting, they lost to the Knicks over the weekend in a shocker. Knicks closed on a huge run. So I think LA, New Orleans is the same way. You don't know if Anthony Davis is playing at all, or if he is, how much. Sometimes him playing seems to be a better proposition, because when he's not playing, their young guys almost seem to play better together, and they're more hungry for the opportunity. So you can't know, you can't predict, and like Jay was saying, handle your business.
Right.
A lot of this stuff will take care of itself if you handle your business.
And you mentioned we need to find some consistency down this last 13 games. Kemba has been blitzed. Kemba has been doubled. All of these things have been happening all year, and they're only amping up as the season nears an end. What does he have to do in order to maintain some consistency?
Well, I think he's got to preserve as much energy as possible, and I think JB knows that. I think the way this team is working right now, it's more about the mental prep than the physical prep, and this is true of a lot of teams now in the NBA. Late in the year, practices are fewer and far between. You're doing more walkthroughs than shoot-arounds. You need to preserve every ounce of energy you possibly can, and I think there's a lot of pressure on Kemba. He knows that. I think he likes those opportunities as well. And Friday, it's a make or miss league. Friday, how many big shots did Nick Batum and Marvin Williams and Jeremy Lamb and Dwayne Bacon hit? And then Sunday, those shots just didn't fall. And that's the way it works sometimes. But I think this team has got to be more consistent in terms of trying to even out those highs and lows. And if they can do that, I do think there's some wins still left on the schedule.
Now we also have to look at the schedule and say the 23rd of March. Last classic
I've had
night.
it circled for months.
Last classic night here in Charlotte. The Boston Celtics will be in town, but there's a pretty sweet shirt we're going to be giving away with Del Curry, Alonzo Mourning, that NBA Jam looking shirt.
We got NBA Jam shirt, and I don't know what's the bigger deal, the T-shirt, which is a huge deal. Coolio. We got Coolio at halftime. Little Gangster's Paradise.
Come along.
Fantastic Voyage. You know what's funny is when we get to halftime, I look over at our broadcast spot, and Eric and Del are, they're a little bit older than me, a little bit. They're out there with their cell phones, waving. Oh, they're rapping every word. These 90s concerts, they've loved the last 2 concerts we had.
Yes, Del wanted to rock right now. There's no doubt.
I might actually start recording the concert. That's what I'll do for the next one. That's what we'll do on Saturday.
All right, so there's some great games coming up here at Spectrum Center. Obviously, we've talked about it all season. Gonna need the crowd in this last stretch. Only 6 home games left. Need the crowd to come out strong and support this team as they've done all season.
Yeah, come watch Dwayne Bacon all of a sudden start to emerge. Let's get another helping of bacon bacon this weekend, okay?
Another helping of bacon. That's the perfect way to close this thing. This has been the Hornets.com Coaches Show. For Chris Kroger, I'm Matt Rochinski for Hornets.com.